souls. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. My name is Carolyn, and this channel is all about true crime, mystery, and anything abnormal. Highly recommend subscribing because this channel is definitely a vibe. Danyal Hussein was born May 10th, 2002. He had some siblings that were much younger than him, and his mother lived in southeast London, and his father lived in Wembley. As he was growing up, he was extremely socially awkward, but he was specifically extremely socially awkward with girls. The first sign that something was definitely wrong occurred when he was 15 years old. At school, he was caught looking at the alt-right extremist websites and any type of information that he could find that pertained to the alt-right. He was also very interested in reading about Satanism and occult practices. And like we don't usually hear that often in these cases, the school actually took action and really tried to get this kid some help. And he was entered into a program that's called Prevent. And it's a program in England, and it's used to try to counteract religious extremism. But I guess when someone goes into this program, they evaluate them as to how extreme their views are. And he was actually placed in the part of the program for the most extreme situations. And he had regularly scheduled meetings so they could monitor his progress in this program so that it didn't turn into something dangerous at a certain point. Danyal did complete the program, but it didn't work for him at all. So I don't know if maybe when he was going through the program, he just kind of was telling the people treating him what they wanted to hear. When Danyal was 19, he wrote up a contract with a demon and he signed it in his own blood. So him getting this idea for creating a contract with a demon came because he followed this scumbag, Matthew Lawrence. He used to have a YouTube channel. Obviously YouTube kicked him off because, I mean, he's into everything. His Satanism is probably the least frightening thing about him, because even Satanists think this guy is nuts. And he's into sexual things involving children, animals. He thinks human sacrifice is reasonable. So writing a contract to a demon, apparently you need to be taught the proper way to do it. So he had studied Matthew Lawrence for years on how to correctly write a contract to a demon. And so after he had studied it, because I guess it only works if you do it the right way. So after years of Danyal following this guy, Matthew, he decides he is going to sacrifice a woman, because apparently you can only sacrifice women. I think they are okay with sacrificing young, but you don't want to sacrifice men. It's got to be a woman, right? We got to hate hard on the women with these guys because they can't get women, so they got to hate them, right? So he's kind of decided that he's going to write this contract that he will sacrifice a woman. It's actually going to be, I'm going to actually read the exact contract to you. But he thinks he's going to win the lottery. Like he thinks if he writes this contract to a demon, he's going to win the lottery. Now, he's following on this forum with all these people teaching him how to do it, But none of these people are successful at anything or have won money or have money or anything like that. So it's just like the dumb leading the dumber, I guess. So this is the contract that Daniel wrote to a demon. So I'm going to read it exactly to you. So at the top, it says agreement. For the mighty king, blah, 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 because I'm not even going to say this made up demon's name. It's basically Dear Satan, okay? That's what he's saying. The rest I'm going to read you verbatim. It's like, like dash. Perform a minimum of 6 sacrifices every 6 months for as long as I am free and physically capable. Another dash. Sacrifice only women. Dash. Build a temple for you. Dash. Do everything that I have promised. And then it says, for me, semicolon, win Mega Millions super jackpot. And then he wrote, receive, slashed it out, dash, to receive fruitful rewards in return for the future sacrifices I make to you. The rewards could consist of wealth and power. Then another little dash, to never be suspected of any crimes by the police, will never know of any crimes that I have done and that I will do. Signed, me, Daniel. And then below that it says king, and I'm just going to say blah, blah, blah. So he is writing this contract because, I mean, obviously, if you're going to take someone's life, you're going to win the lottery. And then he signed it, his name in his own blood. Okay. So we have Daniel, who has written this contract to Satan. So, well, actually, I guess it's not specifically to Satan. It's like a particular demon. I don't know. Maybe different demons have different powers. Not exactly sure. But I'm pretty sure taking someone's life, you're not going to get rewarded for it. But I don't know. I'm just applying common sense. Biba Henry, aged 46, lived in Wembley, and she was a social worker. She was described by family as a passionate advocate to safeguard vulnerable children and families. Her sister, Nicole, she was 27 years old, and she was a freelance photographer. And these two sisters absolutely adored each other, and they were absolutely adored by family and friends and everyone who loved them. They were the type of women that a lot of people would look up to. They both had amazing spirits, and they both were really added a lot of positivity to the world and cared so much about so many people. And they really just were two absolutely remarkable women. And I'm pretty sure these two sisters got a lot of their characteristics from their mother. Their mother, her name was Mina Smallman. She was the Church of England's first archdeacon from a Black or minority ethnic background. She was born October 29th, 1956 in Middlesex. Her mother, Catherine, was of Scottish heritage, and her father was of Nigerian heritage. During her career, she dealt with a lot of misogyny and a lot of racism, mostly coming from privileged white men who questioned whether or not she should be allowed to be a priest. And Mina really was just an absolutely remarkable woman. And it's so sad for somebody who had fought so hard for the rights of others to have lost her daughters in this absolutely horrific way, which is what we're going to get into right now. On the evening of June 5th, 2020, the two sisters attended a birthday party at Bryant Park. And this was all during the pandemic. So it was a birthday celebration that they were having at a park so everybody could social distance and everything like that. And the sisters were having an absolutely amazing time. The park was decorated with fairy lights and different decorations. And it was just really an absolutely lovely evening that everyone who attended had such a special time. And as the night wore on, people started leaving and going home. But the two sisters, they were having such a great time. They just wanted to continue spending time together, talking and enjoying each other's company until eventually everyone else had left and it was just the two sisters left. However, this absolutely beautiful evening would end in a complete nightmare. The two sisters never made it home, and immediately family and friends jumped in to start looking for them because they knew something was wrong for these two women to just not return home. They were both reported missing on the evening of June 6th. And when they were reported missing, police said that they would start an investigation and a search for the two women. But this apparently did not happen. But these two women, they had a lot of family and friends, a lot of people who loved them and cared about them. So the family and friends, they start conducting their own search. And unfortunately, Biba's boyfriend, Adam, would be the person who would discover the horrifying scene where he discovered the deceased body of both women. As soon as the bodies were discovered, the police then were jumped into action and were trying to figure out what had caused this absolutely horrific event. Biba was stabbed 8 times and Nicole was stabbed 28 times. Police quickly discovered blood at the scene that didn't belong to either of the sisters. A lot of times what happens with crimes committed with knives is the perpetrator will end up cutting themselves, and thankfully this happens because then in this case their blood was then at the scene. When police put in the unknown DNA into their system, they got a partial match. Kamal Hussein, who was Danyal Hussein's father, he was already in the system for something completely unrelated to these crimes. Police executed a search warrant on the Hussein home, and it was extremely disturbing, the things that they found. As soon as the police entered Daniel's room, they knew that this was an extremely, extremely disturbed individual. There was satanic paraphernalia everywhere. There was a lot of information about this alt-right extremist views. And another thing that the police found was multiple letters that Daniel had written to different demons. And in these different letters, basically all of them were him pledging a blood sacrifice in return for them to grant his wishes, like it's a fucking genie or something. Danyal was then arrested, and as soon as he was arrested, police obviously wanted to see his hands to see if he had any cuts, and he did. He had some very deep cuts on his hand. So they knew that they had just found the right guy. They then took his DNA, and it was a perfect match to the DNA, the unknown DNA that they had found at the scene where the sisters' bodies were discovered. At his trial, the evidence painted a picture of his absolutely disgusting intentions. He had made all of these contracts or whatever to demons and basically saying, I will kill women if you grant me wishes. And apparently he thought that this would actually happen. And I'm not sure why, because if he wants to look at his mentor, the Matthew freak guy, that guy's living a sad, pathetic life. So if the guy teaching you, if he can't make anything good happen in his life, why do you think he can teach you that something good is going to happen in your life? And the jury was shown the contract that I had read you earlier in the video that he had signed in blood that says he's going to sacrifice these women and then he'll, win the lottery. Because that's how it works. You do something evil and you think something good's going to happen. Probably not going to work. And in any of these cases, whenever it involves people talking about their devil worshiping and they're doing this to please the devil, the truth is they just want to commit murder. And they are attracted to something that's going to tell them it's okay to commit murder. This isn't like, this is just my personal belief. I don't believe that, people end up in these things and get convinced to commit murder. I think they already want to commit it and they want someone to say it's okay. Or in this case, you'll win the lottery if you do. Danyal denied all charges and remained defiant through the entire trial, but it didn't work. The overwhelming evidence left the jury with no doubt. They found him guilty of the 2 murders, and he was sentenced to 35 years in prison. And the mother, Mina, who I had spoke about earlier in the video, she was able to forgive this guy. And she's a better woman than I am, I'll tell you that for sure. But it was really remarkable that she was able to forgive them. And I think it's helpful for families if they're able to forgive the perpetrator, because I think it helps with their own healing. I don't think forgiving them should really even matter for the person who committed the crime. Like, I don't care what they think or feel or anything. But if it's going to help the family feel better, I do think it's good if you could be able to forgive them and kind of let that pain go. But I can't imagine losing 2 daughters to this absolute monster for no reason. Like, there's no reason. Like, you're not going to win the lottery for killing people. Like, is that not just common sense? Like, how is that not common sense for everyone? That's what I want to know. How is that not common sense to everyone? But the story's not over, okay? So this is what happens next. You're not going to believe it. 2 police officers, Dennis Jaffrey and Jamie Lewis, they were sentenced to 33 months in prison because these sick men, so these 2 police officers, crime scene photos are taken of the victims, and those are extremely sensitive photos, obviously, because it's showing the deceased body of the victim. These 2 police officers, they started sharing these pictures, not only throughout the police department, but they were sharing these pictures outside of the police department. And one of them, took his own face and put it on one of the bodies and tried to make it look like a selfie or something. It's so horrific. Like, these poor women were brutally murdered for absolutely no reason. And then the police who are supposed to come in and treat their bodies with respect do something like this. And so the 2 of them, they get 33 months in prison each, and they were fired. Obviously, they lost their jobs as well, but that's just, so gross. So I guess the moral of the story is, if you want to win the lottery, buy a ticket. I don't know. Don't try to sacrifice innocent women, because that's just going to get you prison time. this case was just, it was a lot to research, I gotta say, because I think I went a little too far down the rabbit hole in understanding the type of Satanist that this Danyal guy followed, because I guess like regular Satanists, they are very quick to say, this is not, we do not believe these things. Like, they are over there and their beliefs are not our beliefs. Like, there's a very strong opinion among Satanists that they don't want to be associated with this extreme version of it. So it's just, it's really sad. And it's sad to think that, you know, he was so young and he started accessing this information in high school. And it's just, it's a terrible story. So, but that is the end of today's story. I hope that you enjoy. I never know what to say. Like, enjoy doesn't sound like the right word. I hope you found it informative. And I'd love to know your thoughts on this case and what you think. And any of my UK subscribers, because there's quite a few UK subscribers. Let me know, what is the situation with the 35 years? Does this guy get out after 35 years? Because I really want to know that. Because he was young. Like, I think he was 19 or 20 when he committed these murders. So if he's only going to serve 35 years, he would only be 55 when he gets out. Maybe a few years later, because I don't know how, like, you know, they went through the trial before he's, I don't know, 35 years for 2 murders, that's a lot. But Canada, our sentencing gets confused a lot. When I see other people cover Canadian crimes, they think our sentences are really low, when in reality, that possibility of parole is for people who deserve parole. But people like this, they die in prison because, you know, they should. So yeah, if you want to help me out, leave a comment, like, share with anyone you know that's into true crime. And if you have any suggestions or any videos that you would like me to do, you can always leave it in the comment section below. And I hope that you all do something today to make your soul happy. And I will see you in the next one.